Hello, I'm Peter Melton, and today I'm putting together a video attempting to consolidate the ideas and thoughts that have been swirling around for, well, years, but in particular these last few years, as to what's going on with myself, but what's going on with our species and our planet, our world. Wow, that's funny. Sometimes it seems like we mix those up, that our species is our world or that our planet is our world. It's such a narrow focus, and I think that very human, very narrow focus, that we're what this thing is all about, is a big part of what's led us to some of the challenges that we face and some of the challenges that I'll be discussing here. And since I want to seem really smart, I'm going to put on my smart glasses. You know, the universe as we know it, over 14 billion years old. I mean, this thing has been spinning and swirling and creating for a very, very long time. And humanity, depending on your personal belief, has been around somewhere between 6,000 and 200,000 years. And regardless of where you find yourself in that, we've just been here at the very, very end moment of this creation. And to whatever degree we were put here by whatever source you want to believe in, that source waited around for 13.9 billion years, watching the circumstances come together so that this species could be. And so when I attempt to grasp that size of a reality, that infinite perspective, that perspective of being as grand as the ocean and yet also being this individual wave, as I dare to sit into that, it's rather paradoxical and powerful and deep, and that's what I'm hoping to relay a little bit here. That as we look at humanity, what are we up to as a species? What have we done to this planet? Where are we a good species? What would determine a good species? Are we going somewhere important? What are we up to? We haven't even stopped to ponder that, I don't think, except for the greatest of thinkers. And in our everyday life, there's so much pressure to be now and present and survival, and I got to get all this done, and we're so busy that rarely do we get a chance to back up and say, wait a minute, what's really going on? And that's what fascinates me and is propelling me here. That we don't seem to understand what we're doing to the planet. The comparison I like to make is a 6-year-old sitting at the table and you put a 1,000-piece puzzle in front of them. You know, that it's just mind-boggling what is happening on the planet, and that we don't get, that we're tearing at the delicate fabric. The web of life is being literally torn apart in our lifetimes, with industrial civilization raising the level of the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We're heating the planet up, and yes, that means some places it will snow more and might be colder, but overall we're warming the planet tremendously, and that's having a powerful effect on the ocean, a powerful effect on the polar ice caps in both areas. The Arctic is very warm and the ice is melting quickly, and I think that just those two things, just looking at the oceans and the polar ice caps, is enough to say, wow, this thing's changing really fast and it's going to affect our lives. We're going to be affected by this shifting climate in our lifetime. In fact, many, many, many millions of people are already being affected by it, but it may not have hit home yet to us in the privileged North. And that's one thing that I dare us to open up and look at. Yeah, if we continue to drive this steam train of industrial civilization, it's not going to end pretty. Many species are already affected. The oceans, like I mentioned, in very troubling position right now, and that feeds half of our population. And you start talking about climate refugees and food refugees and folks that will need to live in different places, is going to cause us to be human in a grander way than we've ever been before. It's going to dare us to really look at the big picture of who are we as a species, and is it more important that everyone has food, or is it more important that some of us have a chance at great wealth? A big challenge coming up for us. You know, some people ask me, what about, what's going on? What's the good news, right? And really the good news is, if we act quickly and globally, we might be able to avoid the worst of climate change. That's about as good as the news gets. You know, the things that we're doing, the solutions that we're proposing are really just chances to keep this steam engine of civilization trucking down the road and right off the cliff. And so the good news is maybe if everything came together, we could avoid some of the worst stuff. But can we just face it? We don't tend to be a species that does things quickly. We're still figuring out how to recycle. We still have major racial problems. We still don't treat the sexes and the genders equally. We're not quick movers. And we can't even decide as a country, as the supposed smartest country in the world, the USA, we can't even figure out whether climate change is a problem. We can't agree that climate change is even a problem or that civilization is a problem. And yet we need to act decisively and quickly and globally to make these changes. I think we just got to admit it's not going to happen. And that has been where so many scientists have left the story is things need to change. We need to change quickly, and let's get going. And they leave out those last parts, which is if we don't, and since we're probably not going to, that our habitat, the delicate web that we live in, is going to be fractured and torn. And there's going to be trouble growing food, and there's going to be places where there's no water, and there's going to be crazy floods, and there's going to be heat waves, and there's going to be coral reefs dying. That stuff's already happening. We're already in the 6th great extinction, and it's beginning to nibble at the toes of humanity. It's beginning to happen in a way that we can see it. And our general media, your mainstream media, is not going to tell you this. So if this is the first you've ever heard of something like this, I invite you to consider other sources of media, because the steam engine of civilization wants you to keep buying, wants you to keep playing the game, because it's too scary to tell you what's really happening. There might be mass panic. There might be a run on the bank. The economy might crash. All this stuff that's likely to happen anyway is waiting. They're pushing it off as far as they can. So, you know, there's really no one to blame. We don't seem to have the capacity to realize what we're doing to our own planet. And it's just not sustainable. Population, economic growth, this whole Western culture, the whole idea of sustainability, that we're sustaining what? That we're trying to keep this system going, this Western culture that's killing the planet, you know? And one of the best analogies in an article I wrote around Christmas time really speaks to this. It's called Christmas is Canceled, where Santa Claus comes to the realization that, wait a minute, you've been using Santa and Christmas to perpetuate this overconsumption, crazy overconsumption, and that's leading to massive challenges on the planet. And Santa just says, I've had enough, no more, right? Christmas is canceled. We can't keep doing it this way. And I love to try to find analogies to help understand, and that's one of them. And to conclude, you know, it's rather paradoxical, and this whole experience, we experience ourselves as separate human beings trying to live this great life, and yet we know there's more. And that's one of the strong passions for me, is daring to look at what is that more? What fuels my humanity? Who am I beyond my humanity? What is the bigger picture, the cosmic infinite story of this 14 billion years and so much more that exists beyond that? How can I be in touch with that depth of understanding of who I am beyond my humanity? And that's what I'm daring to invite you to discover for yourself, to have discussions about, can we actually look at who are we really, what are we up to, and how can our humanity move through us in these times of change and probable crisis? How can I be the grandest human at this time? Thank you.